For this presentation, I will be attempting to assess the arguments of both Karl Marx and Bramman. Their main argument is to assert the theory of alienation, that workers will be inevitably estranged from multiple spheres of their lives under the conditions of capitalist industrial production. What are these conditions? When labor is a commodity, when profit drives the economy, when minimizing costs is paramount, and when private property reigns supreme, certain circumstances arrive where armies of hired workers perform monotonous and closely supervised tasks. These individuals have essentially lost control over the process of production, their labor, over the products which they manufacture, the relationships they have with one another, and submit themselves to a stark existence that is subject to forces outside their control, such as the business cycle. The consequence of being alienated on so many levels is that people become estranged from their very human nature, which Marx understood to be free and productive activity. No longer can people produce without external motivation. They lose what distinguishes us from animals, which is the ability to produce which has no practical use, such as merely aesthetically pleasing things. The only way to deter this from happening was to abolish capitalism, which was a means by which to oppress the people economically. But realizing that economies were forever changed from the days of self-production in small shops, Marx concluded that communities and societies as a whole have to make all major economic decisions in the way they make their major political decision, by means of democratically elected legislatures and administration. And that's truly what socialism is to Marx, a means by which to increase self-determination and freedom through the communal and democratic ownership of the economy. Finally, Dr. Bramman makes it clear that this theory can still apply to contemporary economies despite much overhauling and reforms to the system. Ignorance is bliss for an average American who doesn't know the strife of exploited workers across the third world. And in reality, both home and abroad, the relative terms on which workers can compare themselves to those of the past, the disparities between rich and poor have increased exponentially. Since this imbalance in wealth usually translates to an imbalance of political power and influence as well, many capitalist countries tend to be, for all practical purposes, operating under what I would like to call a shroud of democracy. In truth, as Bramman asserts, they operate as oligarchies. Although their democratic institutions may be intact and functioning, their policies tend to be determined by only those with the resources to take advantage of the system, wealthy elites much more than by citizens at large. Sure, unions and other interest groups exist, but their stature in politics as compared to private industry is much reminiscent of the story of David and Goliath. When workers and ordinary people constructed their own oppression, becomes clearer in modern times. Armies of workers, busy and thoughtless like ants, fuel a commodity-based economy and our military-industrial complex. Periodically, they're victimized by their own products, their own government, but they don't quite understand how or why. They've grown to believe that this is some sort of fate, as Bramman asserts, and thus become complacent, and the vicious cycle continues. I believe this argument is not only effective but authentic, as it prompted many real-world considerations in my mind as I read through it. Reality, to me, reflects these notions. As much as economic disadvantage is a paramount point in the article, I believe the resulting political disenfranchisement to be most disturbing. Such examples exist as the 1% and 99% movements. And I will leave you with another example. How do you think the families of the victims of 9/11 feel, now that patriotic fervor has subsided and countless commissions have revealed an alternate, damning history of our government's actions that may have prompted this instance? Do we truly feel in control, or even that our voice matters? I assume not. Most individuals are too busy locked in work, not living life, to question the decisions of our alien administration and, of course, the consequences that these actions carry.